this is what really intrigues me. You have followers all over the world. I mean, look at this heat map. He's got followers everywhere from the west of the United States all the way to the end on the right in New Zealand, all over the world. Grabe. Pati sa South America, meron ka mga
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the New Normal Business Show, presented by SERVIO Technologies, co-presented by Bitstop Network Services Data Center and MB Tech. Today, we will be talking about how to protect your online brand. Very relevant topic today, since everyone is mostly online. And one measure of your online brand is through reviews. There's a study about the power of reviews wherein it says that 90% of consumers read online reviews before visiting a business. And it also says that 74% of consumers says that positive reviews make them trust a local business more. Now that's positive reviews. But we know that negative reviews or any negative articles about your business would also have an impact. And another study says that businesses risk losing 22% of their business when consumers just find one negative article. And that increases to 44% if they find two negatives, and that increases to 59.2% when you have 3 negative reviews or articles. So nakikita nyo how important reviews are. And this is not just going to impact yung business nyo, but also has an impact on your personal branding. It says that nearly half of US adults says that they have Googled someone before doing business with them. Medyo scary, no? Pero alam ko lahat naman tayo ginagawa yan. We research about someone through Google or Facebook. And this has an effect on how they're doing business with this particular person. It also has an effect on the hiring and the firing of people. 70% of employers use social media to screen candidates. And I know, ginawa niyo na rin yan, sinerch niyo sa Facebook. So, we also have to take care of our own personal branding online. And these are just some of why it is important that we need to take care of online branding. And our topic today, actually, since it is a very popular subject, we will have it in 2 parts. So today, Joey and Wilson will be talking about the subject itself. And next week, part 2, we will be focusing on real-life case studies where we will be featuring interviews. So if you want to watch that next week, like our SERVIO Technologies Facebook page. So, now maybe let's get right to it. I'd like to welcome now Joey and Wilson. Welcome Wilson. Joey, our business technology coach, and Wilson, our data analytics wizard. They'll be discussing our topic today, how to protect your online brand.
I look at your online reputation as almost like your storefront there. Diba?
Correct.
Storefront is there. If you have a bad reputation, even in the physical world, diba, people will not come to your store kung masama na yung reputation mo. And
so
now,
remember,
of course,
yeah.
Same with online. People will not use your online storefront if they think you have a bad reputation.
Yeah. So remember, the keywords here is it's a reputation economy. So your reputation precedes you. So that was the opening remarks from Brian, where he showed that businesses do suffer a lot from lost sales. And surprisingly, these are sales na hindi mo alam na nawawala sa'yo.
Yep.
Right? So it doesn't show up. It never shows up.
Exactly. So it's like if you have a storefront, a physical storefront, this is the foot traffic that never came by.
Oo, lalangawin ka. And you never know why. Unless and until you listen to the theories and the tips that we share with you today. Yeah.
So let's get right into it. How do you protect your online brand? How do you protect your reputation to avoid the problems of having a bad reputation? So maybe we can start, Wilson, with just a fundamental question. what is online reputation? What is an online brand? And maybe what's the value in it?
So
Diba?
instead of defining that, let's show up the slides over there and to see, what a good online brand looks like. So here are the top online brands in the world.
Yep.
And take note, there are now China-based companies competing with the worldwide brands, Tencent, and there's one more
Alibaba.
else, Alibaba,
Alibaba. Yeah.
right? So they're now inching their way up. These are the global brands, and there's a way that if you can show the slide, there's actually a computation done by this company where they multiplied your brand strength index by a brand royalty rate and your brand revenues to come up with your brand value. So this is how they computed the top 10 most valuable global brands concerned. This was by Brand Directory.
And so when we look at these companies, now I think one of the things that I am struck by is the fact that today, all the valuable, fast-growing, and surviving companies are in fact digital companies. And these companies are also the ones that know how to manage their digital reputation or their online reputation, their online brand. They know how to do that now because they're digital natives. Whereas a lot of companies, especially the ones who went out of business just recently because of the COVID pandemic, they were physical businesses. These are businesses that maybe was not so digital, which meant that were not that into managing their online reputation. And
Yeah,
that really contributed to their demise
yeah.
with the pandemic, right? So how do you go about protecting and maybe even improving whatever online reputation or brand you already have? What do you
Yeah.
think, Wilson?
Okay. So here's Joey. Is our fearless tip. If you are the top guy, you're the CEO. At least once a month, go down to your frontline help desk, support desk, and man one of those lines, and you can see what people really think about your products and your companies. But failing that, if for the rest of us, there are simple ways that there's actually formulas. And one of the formula we'd like to share is the one from buffer.com. They have a mnemonic: display fears. So
Yes.
F is to find all mention. E is to show empathy to whoever is posting those comments. A is to answer publicly. R, to reply only twice. So later on, let's explain that. And then S is to switch channels. So display fears.
So maybe should we kind of unpack those 5 points a little bit? When you
Sure,
say
sure.
find all mentions means that you have to monitor all
Correct.
channels,
And
monitor
obviously,
everything.
if you want to monitor at that scale, you cannot do it manually. So you need to
Exactly.
have tools, which we will cover later down the slide, down in
And
our slides.
when you say empathy, is that the same as saying put yourself in the customer's shoes?
It's somewhat similar to sympathy and empathy, right? Yeah. So like, I think so. Yeah. Empathy is the one where you are in the other person's shoes. And
Understand the customer experience, kumbaga.
the nice thing about the Filipino culture is we score very high on empathy. Even
Yes.
here in
Malakas ang
Singapore,
ating malakas ang ating pagmamalasakit,
correct. So even here
right?
in Singapore, the frontliners are mostly Filipinos, Filipinas.
And when they say answer publicly, that basically means that, if you're going to answer, make sure that everybody hears it. Make sure that you're not having to answer multiple times individuals. You make it public. Make it like a public post.
Yes,
Kumbaga.
so there's a rule in PR, like when there's something bad about you, make sure that you get your point across on that same post. Otherwise,
Yes.
you're just helping
Perpetuate.
perpetuate.
Perpetuate. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you have to put in your point of view on that same post. So you have to
Yep.
answer publicly and you have to answer quickly.
Yes. And only reply twice. Is the next one. R. Reply only
So
twice.
so according to the authors, when you reply, there's a high chance that the original poster will even escalate, right?
Yep.
So from their point of view is, you know, you don't let it escalate. You answer them twice and that's it. Maybe, you know, I'm a bit on the fence on this one. I'm of the school of thought that says, you know, yes, you reply publicly only twice, but you can offer to take the discussion offline to a
Yes.
private message, right?
I
And you
was about to say the
continue.
same thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we great minds think alike, Joey.
Dapat by the third reply, ang third reply mo should be, let's take this offline. Yun na,
Offline,
para matapos
yes.
na. Yeah.
Uh-uh.
And switch channels. I assume that means that, you know, if you're monitoring one and you're doing this reply on one, you must be sure to also cover the other
Correct.
channels.
So Facebook, although it's big, it doesn't have a monopoly on the entire social media environment. Some of the kids now are on TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, and so if you
Even even on Reddit and Quora, right? Those are
Reddit,
also news
Quora,
channels.
and what else pa? Twitter, LinkedIn. So you need to cover all your bases. So that's what essentially it's saying. Now, going to the response type, how do you respond? So there's this idea and there's this slide from Havas that takes into account your corporate brand DNA, the consumer conversation, your culture, your company's culture, your company's point of view, and your creative bits. And you take all of that when you craft your responses. So if you're like, you know, if you're a hip hop company, maybe your responses will be along those lines. If you are a conservative company, maybe you would be using conservative language. So it's along your brand's DNA and
So it
culture.
sounds like what this framework is espousing is that, you know, if you're going to respond, if you're going to put any message out there, it needs to reflect your culture. It needs to reflect
Authentic. You
authentic.
need to
Yeah.
be authentic. That's the key word for that slide.
Yeah. Kung hindi kayo masyadong legalistic na kumpanya, huwag kayo sumagot na legalistic. Di
Uh,
ba?
like some
Kumbaga,
companies we know who is threatening threatening people for spreading viral, you know.
yes,
So
yes.
like I
If
don't
that's
agree
not
with that.
if you do not if that is not the culture of your company, then you are not being authentic by behaving in that way online.
And
Okay?
tip number 3, you know, tip
Yes.
number 3 is don't wait for the crisis to happen before you formulate your plan of response. What
Ano,
you
parang
need,
ano yan eh, di ba? Parang yung disaster recovery plans, di ba? The time to put it
correct.
together is not when the disaster happens. You
It
have to
was
have the plan
before.
even before, di ba?
Yeah.
So how do we do this, Wilson? Paano yan?
So here you can see on the slide, we suggest that you set up your social media playbook. Like in the field of data security, we have our incident response playbook. Essentially, it's if this happens, do this. If this happens, do this. So like it's an eye opener. So like last night we had a meeting with our social media team and we were, you know, trying to update our social media plans and there was a wealth of ideas that each one of us during a crisis, I guarantee you will not have thought of it. For example,
You
if you
know,
have a crisis, what would be your number one step?
I don't know. Followers?
Half of them, again, are my friends and family.
Kamag-anak.
Mga kamag-anak ko yan.
And
And
then
then,
the word count is also of interest. So tell us about this word count
so
report.
it's like a tag cloud. The more times you tweet about that, the larger the font. So it shows you the topics of interest when you tweet, right?
So ikaw to,
So
these are the ones that you are putting out there, or this is what people are searching for you?
putting out there.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I write a lot about data, about the news, social, tech, digital, and business. So you see them coming up.
Okay.
So
And then
this
there's
is
this virality map, Wilson. Tell us about that. This next slide here from Talk Walker.
yeah, it shows you your blogs, how many are following you, your external, your sources are on the left side, and uh, you have the date on the x-axis. So it shows you how your content are linked to each other over time.
I see. That's why it's called virality. Diba?
Mm-hmm. So
And
obviously, the larger the circles, the larger the effect.
okay. And you seem to be a really big fan of both Sprout Social and Hootsuite. Parang
Yeah.
you're quite a regular user
So,
of
uh,
those two.
so Hootsuite, we use that in our call center. A bit of plugging. We also run social media intelligence campaigns for our clients, and this is one of the tools that we use to help our clients listening in to all the social media conversations about them or about their
Ah.
brands,
So
right?
you're actually again not to plug your company so much, but you actually offer this as a service, right?
Yeah.
You will monitor the mentions of your
S-
clients,
so
right?
let's not mention my call center, farmout.ph.
Farmout.ph. Let's not talk
Yeah,
about
yeah, no,
farmout.ph at all, right?
no,
We won't
no.
mention
Yeah, yeah,
farmout.ph.
don't
Okay.
mention farmout.ph.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So yeah, Hootsuite is probably siguro one of the more popular ones for that particular
Hmm.
purpose. No? So again, we have no ownership in Hootsuite, but
Yeah.
highly recommended as a social listening tool.
Now,
But then, of course, there's the good old free service from our friends at Google.
so if you're like old school and you still check your email, you can use Google Alerts. You just tell
Yeah.
Google the keywords that you want to monitor, and every time Google detects a topic containing your keyword, it will flag it and send it to your email box. So it's just like reading email, and these are all the items that interest you, Mr. Joey Gurango, today.
Yes.
Yeah, and
So as
it's
you can see,
free.
these are all social media, online, digital tools we can use to manage reputation. But in general, they actually form part of what you might call the business management software. Every business now should be on a journey to digital transformation. And so basically, that means having business management software. Now, your options for business management software are not limited to proprietary, expensive, and hard to use technology solutions. There are many general purpose tools that are affordable, even free, easy to use, and they're locally available and supported by Filipino providers. For example, there are free consumer oriented tools like Skype and Facebook Messenger. These tools will work just fine for personal communications, but they will not have the team collaboration features that a business needs. Now, there's also business and professionally oriented tools like Zoom, WebEx, GoToMeeting, and Microsoft 365 Teams. These tools will definitely have the business management features that a professional needs, but of course, as you can see here, they come at a price. Finally, there are business and professionally oriented tools that are available for free. Our favorite price, free. The leader in this category is currently Google Meet and G Suite. Now, as the name suggests, these tools are brought to you by Google, a company that has a long history of providing reliable tools for free. Okay. Now, coming up as a worthy alternative to Google Meet and G Suite is Lark from SERVIO Technologies. Now, Lark is the new kid on the block since it's just been introduced in the Philippines by SERVIO Technologies, the sponsor of this show. So, full disclosure, okay, I am a co-founder of SERVIO. Wilson is not associated, but I am. So, full disclosure, kaya akong pinaplug kasi product namin to. So, just like Google Meet and G Suite, Lark is a communication and collaboration tool for business and professionals that is totally free if you have less than 100 employees in your company. But
Oh,
unlike all
free.
the other tools I've mentioned, yeah, free, your favorite price, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like what I mentioned, it's supported and maintained in the Philippines by SERVIO Technologies, a 100% Filipino company. Lark
Right.
fulfills SERVIO advocacy of software pang negosyo, abot kaya ng Pilipino. To get your
Okay.
free Lark business management software with free technology services from Servio, drop by larkfromservio.com. Again, that's larkfromservio.com. Now, Wilson, napakarami na natin na-cover sa episode na ito. And this is only part one of the
Yeah.
episodes, right? We have a lot more that we can discuss, but medyo out of time na tayo. So maybe you can give your parting words
Yeah.
for this
So
episode.
So I'd like to invite all my friends and families and relatives to also join us on part two. In part two, we'll actually post an actual case that's happening right now. If you haven't seen it yet, there's a viral video showing workers of J&T Express just throwing parcels into a truck. And so that's generated a ton of bad press. So we've actually invited our friends that are the best in the business in the Philippines, Miss Janet Tural, Apple Allison,
Jeanette,
and yes,
yes,
and Flery
Jeanette,
Castro. You know, will be
Mary.
in. Yeah, we'll be interviewing them and see and ask them to share their take on how they would handle the JNT crisis in the hopes that we all can pick out some nuggets of wisdom.
So let me do my wrap up now, Wilson.
Yeah, sure.
You know, the COVID-19 pandemic has forced many businesses to close down. Many of these bankruptcies were of traditional physical businesses, while most of the survivors are of the modern digital businesses. The digital maturity model, or DMM, is both a framework and a roadmap for digital transformation that was developed for growing businesses. We developed DMM based on our observations of and working experiences with hundreds of SME owners and managers who attempted to implement technology solutions into their businesses. Most of those attempts ended up in failure. Now, SERVIO Technologies utilizes DMM in developing affordable technology solutions and tools that have been accelerating the digital transformation of many Filipino companies. We predict that any SME that does not have a digitally enabled workforce will be extinct by the year 2021. Don't be extinct. Survive and grow by learning how to become a digital native at businesstechnology.com. Remember, we're happy to serve you at businesstechnologycoach.com. Businesstechnologycoach.com. Thank you. Any other parting words, so Wilson? We actually still have a couple minutes left. Any other thoughts about either this episode or our next episode, which I'm really excited about with all the great guests we're going to have?